If your New Year's resolution is to write a book, I want to help you do exactly that. In this video, I want to help you by giving you two things. Firstly, some things to think about, some information that I wish I'd had when I was trying to write my first book, so that you don't get in your own way worrying about things that won't help you, and so that you don't have as many barriers in your way. Secondly, things to do, some practical exercises you can use to actually get started today, ways to beat that blank page and get past the hardest part. If you're new here, I'm Kieran, I'm a writer and a freelance editor, and I love to help writers tell their stories and have fun doing it, so thanks for being here. I've been writing for a good few years now, novels, short fiction, bits in between, and it's safe to say I've learned a fair bit about the craft, or at least how I personally approach writing. Not everything, of course, there's always space to learn, and I've got plenty of that. But let's get into some of the things I learned in the process of writing my first book over 10 years ago now that I think might be useful as you approach yours. Number one, there's no right answer for whether you need to plan your story or not. Some people plan scene by scene the entire book before writing so much as chapter 1 at the top of the page. Others write the entire book without planning anything whatsoever. Others do a bit of both. The key to knowing what's right for you is trying it out. I'd suggest trying to plan as far ahead as you can and just seeing how it feels. That, to me, is the key. If it feels impossible to know where to take your story when you've not even started yet, maybe you're a less is more kind of planner. But if it feels too loose and aimless to just start writing and see where it goes, then you might find planning in more detail suits you a bit better. Planning can be as formal as setting out a story scene by scene in a spreadsheet or on note cards, or as informal as press and enter a few times under your story and writing, they nearly get there, but something happens on the way underneath, that's what I do. So that's planning. Think about what your preference might be and attempt to plan. You'll learn something about how you write that will help you avoid frustration and a brick wall one way or the other. Number two, most of the reason that writing is so hard to begin with is down to your mindset. Writing's hard for pretty much everyone who's doing it properly. Natural talent can help, but it takes work and perseverance to get good at it anyway. So if when you first start out, the results aren't quite what you hoped for, know that that's just a part of the process, and it's actually a really important and valuable part of it too. A lot of new writers gather up all of that angst and pressure and nervousness into a big ball and put all of the weight of it directly onto themselves, and then they make their first attempt at writing. They worry over that first line, feeling all that pressure, and of course, it doesn't come out perfect. So all of their worst fears appear to have come true. All the signs point to them being no good at writing at all, and they never make another attempt. All of that's understandable, of course, but I wish I could tell them that that's normal, and it gets easier. You just need to weather the initial storm, persevere, and trust that you'll get better. One way to avoid all of that initial angst and pressure is just to accept that your first line, and the first line you ever write, is really no big deal. I've got another video about writing your first line that I'll direct you to at the end of this one, but here's my summary of this point. Make sure your mindset is on your side. Think less about how hard writing is and how bad you think your first attempt will be, and think more about how fun it'll be and how good it'll feel to work through all of that and not let it beat you. Then pause the video for a few moments and write something, anything. Get your first line of writing done on your phone, on your notebook, on your computer, whatever. Take 1 minute and write something. It doesn't seem like much, I know, but it might help remove the pressure a little bit. It doesn't have to be good, it just needs to exist, and then you've got past that barrier. All right, ready? Hit pause, take a second to write something, and I'll see you back here for the next point. Number 3, there's a ton of writing advice out there. Take all of it with a pinch of salt, including this video and any of my videos. There's loads of well-intentioned and intelligent creators here on YouTube and in other places that want to help you succeed and to write the story your way, and they're giving great advice and sharing craft knowledge from the heart because they're passionate about it. But there's also a lot of businesses and companies that want to funnel your writing progress into their systems and methodologies that you don't really need, and it'll cost you a lot of money up front and ultimately may not help you figure out how you write. Take in and embed any writing advice that feels legitimate to you and learn from it where you can, but don't forget this one thing. Just because you're new doesn't mean that your preferences, your intuition, or your ideas are bad. As much as you possibly can, follow your own compass as you learn to write. Try to do things your way. Your individuality is something that no other writer can offer the world in quite the same way, so don't lose sight of that among the world of writing advice. To embed that tip a little, I have another suggestion for an exercise you can complete. You likely have an idea for your story already, something that sparked your desire to write a book in the first place. That's great. Hold on to that. But for a second, take a notebook or your phone and think a bit bigger than just that story. Think about how and what you love to read, your favourite stories and the stories that you want to tell. What is it about them that matters to you? Is it the way they're told? What they highlight about life? How immersed you feel in them? How the worlds are so detailed and deep, or how the characters feel real? For me, I like stories that highlight those moments of quiet and reflection in our lives, and stories that have a certain atmosphere to them. It could be anything, but whatever occurs to you, whatever you feel is important about those stories, write those concepts down and keep them as a North Star. That way, when you find yourself surrounded by all manner of writing advice, you can follow that star to the things that you actually value about storytelling and your own writing, and you can take advice with those in mind. So, to summarise, think about how what you're bringing to writing is valuable, even though you're just starting out, and hold on to that. And then write down those parts of storytelling that you value most and keep them for reference. In a few moments, I'm going to wrap up this video and direct you to a more in-depth one where I'll talk you through writing a first line step by step and write one with you in real time, so you can sharpen up whatever you wrote before or take a shot at it properly if you haven't started yet. Make sure you follow along on this channel and on my Patreon to stay engaged with your writing and to learn how to write your story your way. Don't let this New Year's resolution slip away from you. Trying to write a book could lead you to happiness and contentment. That's what writing's done for me. Give yourself the space and the permission to learn and be creative, and who knows what you could have written by this time next year. Alright, here's the video on opening lines. Go there next. This is where it all starts. Good luck, thank you so much for watching, and happy writing.